This is Week 10 Sunday in the league. Jets-Raiders just finished in Vegas, and I said earlier, probably more thrilling than it probably should have been. We'll get to that in a moment, but there were some good matchups today, especially with quarterbacks.
Yeah, because it was Jets-Raiders, we're allowed to move on. Two Columbus quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud started Ohio State.
Yep.
Joe Burrow went to school at Ohio State, played his football at LSU. That's his line, not mine. Houston's 5-4. Their last 3 years, 2 4-win seasons and a 3-win season.
Pretty good.
Coach Ryan's got him going. Stroud made his 9th career start Sunday. In a third of those games, he's thrown for at least 350 yards, ties him with Andrew Luck, Cam Newton for the most by a rookie in NFL history. 2,626 passing yards. That's the third most through a rookie's first 9 starts in league history. He's a good one.
Well, our Sunday Fun Day is not complete until Tim Hasselbeck joins us here on SportsCenter. And Tim, I think one of the more intriguing storylines so far in this season is how the development of C.J. Stroud has aligned with the evolution of the Texans as a football team. Last week, record-setting day for the rookie. Today, overcoming that key turnover and then still engineering that late game-winning drive. From your eyes, what were the keys to Stroud's performance today?
He's been incredible. There's a lot to like. And listen, he's made them good, Michael. They're a good football team right now because of how the quarterback is playing. The evaluation process really wasn't kind to him in terms of his ability to create. Wasn't something he did a lot of at Ohio State, but he's certainly doing more of it now. And listen, we're basically in the middle of November, and the Houston Texans have a legitimate shot to win their division.
And no one thought that was going to be happening when we came in to the season. Much more from Tim in a moment, but it was an interesting day in the AFC North, to say the least. We'll just show you how the Bengals went down to the Texans. How about the Browns and the Ravens? Yeah, finish the game, that's key. Because, again, the Ravens led 40 seconds into the game. They had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, but they lost. In all 3 of Baltimore's losses this season, they had a lead in the fourth. Since the start of last season, the Ravens are tied with the Colts for the most losses in games where they led in the fourth quarter. They have 7 of those L's.
Tim, I feel like 17-3, 24-9, these are leads that should be safe, games that should be finished. Instead, it's the Browns' defense, because I get they get points, but they don't get points unless you get stops. How is it that the Cleveland defense improved? Where'd they change their formula to get success there in that second half?
Well, they did a good job stopping the run. I mean, think about how the Ravens are built. The Ravens are actually built to play with leads and finish games, the way they run the football and the way they have a quarterback that's a threat. But by winning on early downs, it allowed them to rush the passer. I think you have to give Cleveland credit, for hanging in there defensively. I know you had the graphic up, but Deshaun Watson was actually really bad to start this football game. Got better as it went along. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that defense was just keeping them in it.
If you can harass the quarterback, you can mess with the offense. It's that simple. A lot of good plays in our next game, Lions-Chargers.
All right, Tim, so as John just mentioned, Detroit is 7-2, and the thing that stands out right now through these first 9 games is their offense. It goes on the road and it scores points, 41 in this game. So they're doing it at home and on the road. What has allowed this offense to be so successful?
They can run the football. The way we look at the 49ers, the way we look at the Dolphins, I think the Lions are right in that mix. They're creative with their run game, but they have a physicalness to how they do it. They have a head coach and an offensive coordinator that kind of have the guts to call it when it matters the most. So I think they're a really fun team to watch. They do a lot of good stuff offensively. They're way more competitive defensively. And if you look at their schedule, Michael, it's hard to find another loss. Maybe Dallas in the rest of the season. Like, they are not out of the mix of being a team that could host, the playoffs could go through Detroit because of what their schedule looks like.
That play call at 4th and 2 by Dan Campbell late, that's just indicative of the culture that he's instilled there in Detroit, and that's why they're off to this very impressive start. But guess what? There was another impressive win in their division today, courtesy of the Vikings.
Tim is back to explain why quarterback preparation can just be whatever you want it to be. Josh Dobbs, he won a game last week with 1 drive and 0 practice. This week, at least, he had some time to learn stuff. But listen, we know he's a bright guy, but it's not like he's had this playbook since minicamp in July. So the simple question is how the heck is he pulling this off?
I think there's a few things that are happening, John. One, he obviously is very smart. He's been in a lot of offenses. I'm sure he's retained a lot of knowledge in terms of how to read things out. And they're calling plays at times, especially on early downs, of things I know that he's done before other places. You know, the timing and precision a lot of times takes a lot of work and reps to get it done, but he seems to be playing with a fair amount of confidence, seeing things well. But I think there's parts that are helping his game, and then I think there's an aspect of it with stuff inside the pocket, which really, to be honest with you, John, I think is hard to understand for a guy that's been on 5 teams in 2 years, in a year. I mean, it's
Right.
hard to understand. It is and by the way, let's not forget this. He's only the starter because of an injury last week. And it's hard to imagine that he's not going to be the starter going forward. It's remarkable.
It does show if you do, even if you have simple stuff, if you can do it well, you can succeed in the NFL. Traded out of Arizona, that's not terrible for Josh Dobbs. You're finished here on this edition of SportsCenter. You get to go see SVP. For you, Tim Hasselbeck, that's not terrible either. Thanks.
All right, so it was less than 2 weeks ago when Josh McDaniels was fired by the Raiders, right? They were 3-5, and they were allowing about 23 points a game. Now Antonio Pierce, interim coach, he's won both of his games, and they're allowing just 18 points a game. And, positive turnover margin. That's also key for winning games.